Yo, this is Teresa Weatherspoon, better known as Teaspoon, and you're watching Real Fans, Real Talk.
Live from the can. Vibe the can.
This is Real Fans, Real Talk. Real fans, real talk. We as real as you thought. Real fans.
What's going on? Welcome to another live edition of Real Fans, Real Talk. After a heartbreaking week for myself with the letdown in the World Series, that's why we didn't record yesterday. I needed an extra day to get my emotions together intact so I can come speak to the family. And we can get this because I'm getting a little misty-eyed again. Let me just introduce my brother, my co-host, Eric Sanchez, aka Legend in Two Games. What's going on, man?
What's really good, bro? Yeah, man. I know you're still going through it, so I'm not even gonna talk about some of the rumors I'm hearing in regards to the off season. We'll let that be for the time being. Congratulations to the Dodgers. We got some great NFL talk. We got some NBA talk to get into. It's so much to discuss, Trip. So there's a lot of reasons to be happy right now.
Yeah, congratulations to the Dodgers. That's the only thing that takes the sting away from this somewhat is that it was the Dodgers, and you guys know, as I've said it in the past, that if the Yankees aren't in, the Dodgers are the team that I root for because they're from Brooklyn. So that's like the only little ray of sunshine that I had in this whole ordeal. But I'm still sick. But like I said, we got a whole lot of sports to get into. Let's get straight into this NFL talk because I see the questions. We got a lot of NFL questions, y'all. Y'all on your NFL action today. Oh, hold on. Is Will in the building? Is Will gonna be joining us today?
He might be. I know he was at the game yesterday, but it was his daughter's birthday today. Shout out to his daughter.
Happy birthday.
Mia. Yeah. So he may be occupied right now, but he may log in.
He need to log in because right now he's getting his boot smoked by yours truly in fantasy football. And I needed him to be here today so we could discuss.
He's not gonna log in because remember he was only talking when he was undefeated.
All right, well then let's get on with the get on then. Shout out to Tyson. First up, Tyson was there. I was up here early. I was 157, my man. Appreciate you, brother. Saints fire coach Dennis Allen after 7th loss in a row. I'd have fired his ass too after 7. Y'all just lost to the Panthers. Of all teams, y'all lost by a point to the Panthers, messed up my whole parlay. I'm like, I couldn't even get that one done. So yeah, I don't blame them. This is not even just NFL, but sports in general. This is a what have you done for me lately era in sports, and 7 straight losses will get you fired quicker than I don't know what. So I'm not surprised by this decision. I know they've been dealing with injuries this season. They actually started the season pretty good. We were talking about them like they were legitimate playoff contenders. But, the injuries started kicking their butts. And, ultimately, you start losing games. And now you done got to 7 in a row. And GMs, owners, they not having that. They are trying to win right now. Especially when the Super Bowl is in New Orleans. They need something like to for the fans to look forward to. So, they let them go.
You lose 7 in a row in the NFL, you're going to get fired. Simple as that. You got a whole week to prepare for games. You got to be more prepared. You got to be more ready to go on Sundays or Mondays, depending on when your game is. But when you look at the Saints this year, as you mentioned, they started off 2-0. The offense dropped 40-plus points in back-to-back weeks, and they looked electric. And Alvin Kamara looked like an early season MVP candidate. They lost a couple close games. They lost a close game to the Falcons, if I remember. They lost a close game to the Eagles in a game that they were leading. They had lost a close game to the Chiefs. I think it was like a 12-point game. But then from that point on, like the losses got really, really ugly, Trip. I mean, you're talking about 51-27 to Tampa Bay, 33-10 to the Broncos, 26-8 to the Chargers. That was leading up to this week. That was their last 3 games leading up to this week.
So those are triple attack teams.
Yeah, I mean, again, you're talking about the Broncos who starting a rookie quarterback put 33 points up on you. And you saw what Bo Nix looked like this week against the Ravens. He looked like a rookie quarterback. So Dennis Allen, he prides himself in being a defensive-minded coach. He was the defensive coordinator previously when Sean Payton was the head coach there. That was another issue. This defense has never looked good. this was in the making. Like I said, you got to be better week in, week out, and to have those type of losses leading up to yesterday, ultimately losing to a Panthers team that's fighting to have the #1 overall pick, it's just bad. It's a bad look for them, and so therefore they had to move on.
Yeah, the 6 losses like, all right, but then you make the 7-1. This is a loss to the Panthers,
right?
Like, come on, man. You knew your time was up in New Orleans, so we'll see where they go from here. But yeah, it wasn't a good look. The Saints are bad. Again, we thought there was something coming out the gate. They got that big win against the Cowboys. They look really good. But they just haven't been able to bounce back. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
Titan lose Crushenberry, Diggs for rest of season. Not that it matters because they wasn't going to do nothing anyway. But I mean, those are two key pieces. So I get it. But the reality is they probably weren't going to make the playoffs anyway. So does this really affect them? In fact, it probably helps them more than it hurts them because they would, if they were there, they probably wind up being a middle of the pack team. At least now, they'll probably tack on a couple of more losses and get a higher draft number.
Yeah, shout out to Tyson, but he must be a fan of the Titans because they were 2-6 with those guys. So without those guys, it wasn't going to make much of a difference. If you start Mason Rudolph in today's NFL, you're not a competitive team. Just call it what it is. They're expected to be a top 4 team. They get a good emotional win yesterday over the Patriots in overtime. But prior to that, they had just given up 52 points last week to the Lions. So this is a team that also, if they didn't have a first-year head coach, he probably would be getting fired too because they've been getting blown out several weeks in a row as well, leading up to finally winning yesterday.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on I haven't known what's going on in Tennessee for years because they've been bad for a couple of years now.
Yes, I mean it's a complete rebuild. It is what it is. It's been again, they're a team that is trying to figure it out and trying to get right. They got 2 wins this year. They beat the Dolphins when Tua was out, and now they beat the Patriots, who are battling for the #1 overall pick. Other than that, I mean, the past 2 weeks prior to this week, they had given up a total of 86 points between the games against Buffalo and Detroit. They gave up 34 to Buffalo, 52 to Detroit. So they know where they're headed. They're headed to the top of the draft.
I'm surprised they ain't trying to get Tannehill to come back. So,
all the reports I've heard with Tannehill, because Green Bay had actually called Tannehill when Jordan Love was out. But Tannehill was kind of waiting for the right situation. And it looks like Tannehill's probably just going to sit out this season and try to get with a team going into camp next year. All off season, he had let it be known that though he wanted to play this year, he didn't want to play for a rebuild. He wanted to play for a team that had a legitimate chance to be a playoff team. So I think that's why Tennessee was out of the mix. He was never going to really consider them. And then Green Bay, like I said, there was some thought of him going there, but I think he knew ultimately that's Jordan Love's job. I would be a stopgap for a week or two, and he was looking for something that was a little more stable. Yeah,
if Jordan Love maybe goes down for the season,
right,
probably considers that because then it's like, okay, this is a team that is a playoff caliber team, and I can showcase myself and get into maybe a 3-year deal next year if I can get the team to the playoffs and maybe even get a win. And that team, I think, with the weapons that they have, with Josh Jacobs running the football the way he has been, Tannehill's serviceable enough to get them still keep that spot in the playoffs. I think he could have done that and then probably got himself a new deal.
Yeah, but, I mean, to keep it a buck, Tannehill's not an elite quarterback, but he's had several playoff starts. He was actually the starting quarterback that one year when they went to the AFC Championship game against Kansas City. So, he's respectable enough, like you said, that if you have the weapons around him, he can do the job. He can get it done. But obviously there wasn't the right landing spot for him where he could be on a competitive team. It was mainly teams that were looking to rebuild or just looking for a veteran presence, and he didn't want to be that.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go to Ron Charles's question. My main man Ron says, what statement did Lions make? Campbell, we're built for this. We can play anywhere. Basically the statement was the Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to F with. That was the statement that they made. They said we're gonna keep running up numbers on you jabronis every week until somebody put a stop to this, and it ain't looking like somebody gonna put a stop to this because that offense is potent. St. Brown the plays that he was making this weekend, oh my goodness. And then when you add in the fact that they have two, not one, but two elite running backs that can both get you 100 yards rushing or 100 yards receiving and a couple of touchdowns on a week-to-week basis. They still have, and even though he hasn't had, it's been a slow year for him, they still have, I would probably say, at least a top 5 tight end with Laporta. That's just to add on there. Jameson Williams, when he's back, another weapon. These guys have weapons upon weapons upon weapons. They have one of the most potent offenses in the NFL right now, and they are the real deal. And that's the message that we're sending. We are the real deal. We'll see you in the championship game.
Yeah, the Lions are the most complete team in the NFL, and this is one of the topics that we talked about a few weeks ago when one of the followers had made the question about, are the Ravens the scariest team? And I said, you got to put the Lions in that mix. This is the second straight week, Trip, that the Lions have had a statement win, and Jared Goff didn't even throw for 150 yards. They can run the ball, and in that weather in Lambeau yesterday, I think they answered a question that a lot of people wondered about them. People probably wondered, are they a finesse team? Are they just a team that can get up and down the field and score when the weather's great? But in an ugly game in Lambeau, both their running backs run for over 65 yards. They dominate the line of scrimmage. Their defense makes the plays early on. And really, yesterday, they could have dropped another 30-piece. Going into yesterday, I believe they had 5 straight games of 30-plus points. They had 24 points going into the fourth, and they kind of took it easy by just running the ball because they had a 3-score lead at most of the game and at least 2 touchdowns for most of the game. So they could have done whatever they want. But when you look at the Detroit Lions, offensively, they're 7th in yards per game. They're 6th in rushing yards per game. They're tied for 1st in points per game. And then if you look on the other side, defensively, if you say, all right, well, they're an offense team. Well, this is how good they are defensively. They're 7th in rushing yards allowed per game. They're 6th in points allowed per game. They're tied for 1st in turnover ratio in the NFL. This is the most complete team in the NFL. I think, as you mentioned, we saw them against the 49ers last year in the NFC Championship game, and I came away from that game thinking that they should have beat the 49ers. They had opportunities to, and Dan Campbell got a little too cute going for it on 4th down a couple times when he could have just took field goals. This team is going to be back in the NFC Championship game, and as I said last week, leading up to this game against Green Bay, now they have the inside track to the number 1 seed. They got the tiebreak over Green Bay. They got a 2-game lead over Green Bay in that division. If they get the number 1 seed, everything's got to go through Detroit. And if they're healthy, there is not a team in the NFC that is better than the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, they're gonna be a problem. And we, even though McCaffrey's supposed to be returning to practice, I don't know what 49ers team we're gonna get come postseason because they still got other guys that's just dropping like flies. So I don't know what we're gonna get from them. Shout out to the Eagles. They've been looking better, but I'm still not convinced that they're ready to go back to another Super Bowl unless you telling me that Saquon is going to be doing backflips, spin moves, 360 dips, and jumping over cats the way he did in this Sunday's game. Then maybe I might feel that way, but they still got a ways to go, to show and prove. And then again, we saw what they just did with the Packers. So, you know what I mean? So yeah, they are a team that I believe will be at least in the NFC Championship game this season. Big shout out to the Detroit Lions. This is far, far removed from that team that didn't get a win a couple years ago.
Yeah,
so,
and a lot of teams should be paying attention to the way the Lions built this up because when other teams have been so desperate to go after star quarterbacks and big names, they built this up around Jared Goff. When they made that trade for Stafford a few years ago, people wondered, are they going to go draft a quarterback? They had a lot of high draft picks. No, they just went out and got a lot of quality guys. Penny Sewell on the offensive line. Jamar Gibbs. They went and got Montgomery in free agency. Amon St. Brown is a draft pick that is as well. Aiden Hutchinson before he got hurt, obviously. There's a lot of really good players on that team. And this team is going to be in the mix for a long time, Trip. This ain't a flash in the pan. What they did last year, I think, was just starting to scratch the surface.
Shout out to Jared Goff, too, because for his career to go the way it did, when they made that trade from the Rams, it was we're throwing away this kid because he's not going to be what we thought he was going to be when we drafted him, was bringing Stafford. And again, it worked because they did get the Super Bowl ring. They did what they wanted to do. I don't think anybody had any idea that Jared Goff was going to get to the Detroit Lions and look like this.
Right.
So shout out to Jared Goff on that. Let's take a quick second. Shout out to Will Gordon. What it do, baby? My daughter Maya wants a B-Day shout out, make her day. Maya. I mean, we shouted you out already, but we're gonna do it again because
Yeah.
you're the princess and it's your day. Happy birthday, Maya. Wishing you many, 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 many more birthdays. All right, be blessed.
Happy birthday, baby girl. Hope you enjoying your day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's get back up to the top of the charts here. Okay, we might as well get right back to it. How should the Packers feel heading into the bye week? I mean, I feel a little bad after you just got your boot smoked by Detroit, but outside of that ass whipping that you just got, I think Green Bay has been very good this season, especially with missing Jordan Love for the games that he was out for due to the injury. I think they're in very good shape. They're gonna play Detroit again, so you get a chance to get some get back, and there's a chance that you could even possibly play them a third time in the playoffs. So you have a chance to get some get back. I'll say again, outside of that the loss to the Lions, I'm loving what I'm seeing from Green Bay. Shout out to Josh Jacobs as well because he has been putting the numbers up running that football for the Packers.
He had a 100-yard rushing day yesterday. If I'm the Packers, I'm feeling good. But the bye week is much needed right now because we know Jordan Love is dealing with a little bit of a groin and hamstring injury. So you get the week to rest. They get the opportunity to get Jerry Alexander healthy as well, get him back. So they're fine. They're 6-3. Like I said, they don't have any tiebreak over Detroit right now. And obviously they're 2 games back of Detroit, who's 7-1. But their next 5 games coming out of the bye, they go to Chicago. Then they get a tough game against the 49ers. They get the Dolphins. They get Detroit again, and then they get Seattle. So the schedule isn't easy coming out of the bye, but I think it's a perfect time to kind of heal up, get ready for the second half of the season push. And the Packers are a playoff team. The question is, can they get back in the mix of it to win the division? That's where they're going to try to get healthy and see if they can do that by the time they play Detroit in their second meeting.
Yeah, well, they're 3 games, I guess, technically behind because they got 3 losses.
Yeah.
Two behind. But again, you're going to play Detroit again. You have to win that game, though, if you want a chance at winning the division. There's no way you lose both regular season games to Detroit and think you're going to have a chance at winning that division. And then the Vikings, you're going to have to do something with them, too, because they're playing well.
Vikings in a mix, right?
The only team that made them look not look invincible is Detroit. So it's gonna be a rough road, but it's definitely possible. They have to continue playing the way they've been playing, running the football the way they've been running it. The defense has actually been very good, and they have a lot of young wide receivers. They haven't had the one standout wide receiver just yet, but I think for the most part, the core of wide receivers has been really good for them. Because I think each week it's a different receiver who's the guy this week.
Right.
We kind of just going rotation, but that's a good thing. That's a good problem to have with several guys that can move the chains for you. So I like what I'm seeing from the Packers. Win a division may be tough, but they do have a chance.
Yeah, I mean they're going to be a playoff team. Again, they got to get healthy and try to see if they can get back in the mix by the time they play Detroit. They got to handle their business. They got like I said, they got the 49er team who's in the middle of a really competitive NFC West right now. And by the time they face the 49ers, we expect McCaffrey's going to be back. So that could be a different version of the 49ers. Same thing, again, when they play that Dolphins team. I know the Dolphins aren't really in the mix, but the Dolphins are trying to salvage their season. So that's not a easy win for them. And that's also in Miami. That's not a home game. And then aside from Detroit, again, Seattle's in the mix of West. So the next 5 games aren't that easy for the Packers. So the bye week's at a perfect time for them.
Yeah, they could use the rest. Let me go to Kyrie Thompson. Shout out to Kyrie. More or less confident in the Eagles after the win. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm a little bit more confident after the win, but I feel like we've been seeing Saquon be spectacular the past couple of weeks, and that's been the big boost. And I would hate to see Saquon have a down game, and now you guys are right back to where we started from. Like I don't like the fact that this team's success, who is only 2 years removed from being in the Super Bowl, is contingent on Saquon Barkley being spectacular, which we know he can be, but you don't want to be dependent on Saquon Barkley being spectacular every week. The rest of those guys have got to step it up.
Well, I mean, to be fair, this is starting to get to the point where it's finally their receivers are all healthy at the same time.
Yeah.
So there's that aspect of it as well. But in terms of confidence, I am more confident in Philly because this is the best they've looked. The last 2 weeks, I think this is the best they've looked all season. They're on a 4-game win streak, but they were impressive against Cincinnati last week. They were impressive yesterday to start the game. I didn't like how they got a little sloppy, their pause against Jacksonville. They had the 22-point lead, and then they let the Jags back in it, after a turnover. Nick Sirianni got a little cute with the 4th down gambles. But overall, they're on a 4-game win streak. They're 6-2. They're in great position. In 2 weeks, they get the big matchup against the Commanders, which will probably be for first place. Their next 4 games aren't easy, though, Trip. They get Dallas, which should be pretty easy. We know Dak is going to be out for a little bit, and Dallas has played like ish anyway. But after that, they get the Commanders. They got to go play the Rams, and then they get that great game against the Ravens. 3 of their next 4 games are on the road. So, as you mentioned, they need Saquon to still continue to play at this level for those road games against, like I said, that 3-game stretch. DC, Rams, Baltimore, those are all good playoff teams that you're going to need to be fully healthy for, and you're going to be having to play at your best. You can't play them the way you just played the Jaguars. You can't have letdowns like that. You got to play a more complete game against those teams.
Yeah. So, the reason why I say I'm only a little, I'm a little more confident in them is because, yes, they have won 4 straight, but the reality is 3 out of them 4 teams are horrible. You're talking about the Browns, the Giants, and the Jaguars. Those 3 teams are horrible all season long. Bengals, realistically, they're kind of horrible too, but it's just that when you have Joe Burrow who can throw 5 touchdowns in a game, pretty much at will, it's like you always have a chance. But yeah, the next 4 games is really going to tell where the Eagles are, because now you're going to start facing that real competition. The Cowboys should have been the part of that mix, but again, they've been playing like crap this whole season, and now they're going to lose Dak Prescott with the hamstring injury for a couple of weeks. So, that one that's just that. At least it should be a gimme game, because you know how that goes. The games, we can have a Ravens Brown situation where it's like we should easily get these guys up out of here, and we don't. So you always want to be aware of that. But the next couple of games after that is really going to be the test for the Eagles, and that Washington game is going to be the game of the week, because that game could potentially tell us who gets home field. Because that young boy in Washington, boy.
I think that game against Dallas, it's a division game, but I don't know if Dallas has any fight left in them, to be honest.
So
what I saw yesterday was a team that looked like they quit on their coach. Dallas don't look like they have much fight, and even though CD, the MRIs and everything came back fine, there's a possibility that he may still sit out this game anyway, with the shoulder injury. So you don't know if you're even going to get CD, obviously, and Dak is already out, and it's their team that can't run the ball. I expect the Eagles to kind of put their foot on their neck in that game. The Commander game is going to be an interesting game because the Commanders are playing great ball. Jaden Daniels looked like the offensive rookie of the year. But that's going to really be the statement game for the Commanders. That's going to be the test for the Commanders to show if they are truly an elite team or if they're just a good young team that's developing. And that'll tell a lot. And for the Eagles, you're right. Those games are going to tell a lot about the Eagles as well, because, again, in terms of quarterback play, you're not facing Trevor Lawrence anymore. You're not beating up on Daniel Jones. You're going to have to play Jaden Daniels. You're going to have to play Matthew Stafford. You're going to have to play Lamar Jackson. And if you can find a way to beat those guys, now we're talking about a legitimate Super Bowl contender. Yes. But again, in terms of where we stand right now, I think you would have to be confident in the Eagles. They're on a 4-game winning streak. Again, this is the most complete their offense has looked this year. Their defense, I'm still worried about their secondary, and that will get tested in that Commanders game. That'll definitely get tested in that Rams game and that Ravens game. But for now, I like what I'm seeing from the Eagles. The offense looks complete. The defense looks like it's getting better.
I'm gonna tell you this: the Eagles better get that win, because if you look at the Eagles' schedule, these next 4 games in comparison to Washington's schedule, Washington, if the Eagles don't get that win and they lose to Washington, Washington could easily win the next 5 games before they get back to any real competition and play the Eagles again.
Mm-hmm.
So the Eagles better be looking at that Washington game as a must win, because if not, like I said, you could really lose your shot at trying to come back and win that division.
Right.
But let's see what we at right here. Hold on. Let me see let me go to Will. Will says, I was in the building for Chargers Browns. Nice. Justin Herbert is showing that dog in him while taking care of the football with only 1 interception. Cleveland is on Cancun time. Mr. Stefanski was trying to get fired. He ain't the only one that's trying to get fired. A couple of coaches trying to get fired.
If Stefanski's trying to get fired, it's because he wants to get away from that ownership, and specifically Jimmy Haslam. Stefanski's a 2-time coach of the year, so he damn sure know how to do his job. But this is also the same ownership group that didn't want him to bench Deshaun Watson when everybody and their mother knew that Deshaun should be benched, right? Mm-hmm. So if he's trying to get fired, it's really just to get away from that ownership group. I don't think it's trying to get fired because he's an incompetent head coach. Similar to, I think Mike McCarthy's an incompetent head coach, but Jerry won't let him go.
He loves his coaches and his players.
Yeah. There's a couple coaches who are just incompetent, and they should be fired. I think Stefanski is just trying to get fired to get away from that ownership group.
Probably true. Let me go back.
He's sabotaging the relationship. It's like when you don't want nothing to do with the woman no more, but you don't want to break it up. You want her to do it, so you do everything in your power to sabotage it. That's what he's doing.
Oh yeah, it's like back in the day when I would break up with the girl right before Christmas, so I don't got to buy her a gift. I mean, that's neither here nor there. My bad. I put it out.
In another lifetime,
That's what I said. Let's go back up. Let me see. Hold on. I see one more. Oh, hold on. Let me go back to this one. Nick Sirianni, Saquon reverse hurdle, the best play I've ever seen. It's definitely up there. I mean, that's his guy, so because he's gonna say that. I'd still probably have to say that front flip into the end zone that Mike Vick did to score the touchdown. But I mean, what can I say, man? It's Saquon Barkley. That brother can do no wrong, and that play was just crazy.
I mean, shout out to Nick Sirianni for showing support to his guy, and it's a great play. Don't get me wrong, but it's not the best play ever. And Nick Sirianni, I'm sure, has seen a lot of football. Maybe he meant best play that he's been on the field for, but I doubt that's the best play he's ever seen, because I could think of several plays.
Maybe
that's what I'm saying. Maybe, or even as maybe when he was an assistant, because he worked on the Colts staff under Frank Wright. So he's been an assistant in the league for a few years before he got the head coaching job. So maybe he means like actually on the field, watching it in the moment.
Yeah.
But you and I both know. I mean, is the Saquon reverse huddle a better play than Odell's one-handed catch on Sunday Night Football?
No.
Because
it's not going to ever be. I couldn't give a play that doesn't result in a touchdown. So I couldn't rank it higher than the play that does.
Yeah, I mean, not just that. I just think the level of difficulty. Like, we see guys hurdle all the time.
Yeah.
So it's not like the first time we had ever seen somebody hurdle somebody. I've seen Randy Moss take a slant over the middle and then running full speed hurdle over the safety.
Yeah.
Run in the middle.
That was
the level, the degree of difficulty. Yes.
Yeah.
But in terms of like the best play ever, like he hurdled the guy and immediately got tackled. It wasn't like oh my. We seen Barry Sanders make plays that were better than that.
Yeah, all of the best stuff kind of came before the hurdle, up into the hurdle, and then the play.
Yeah. So I mean, the degree of difficulty and the level of athleticism is amazing. But to say it's the best play I've ever seen, like, all right, let's settle down, bro.
Yeah. But he got to support his guys. I ain't mad at him for that. Brandon Chambers, what up? Dak expected to miss multiple weeks with the hamstring. We kind of got into a little bit. Cowboys just gonna go from bad to worse. That's all that is. I had said before the season started, when we were talking about the coaching, the quarterback controversy, because this was before Dak had signed that $62 million a year deal. Maybe the Dallas should just take the season away and try to get one of these quarterbacks in the draft. Then they go out there and start stinking it up this season. So you kind of tanking it without tanking it. So this is another situation where addition by subtraction might actually help the Cowboys, because they could possibly fall into a situation where they could draft their next quarterback.
Well, they're not drafting a quarterback, Trip. It's Dak. There's too much money on that contract, especially since it just started. Now, maybe Travis is in the mix. Maybe a D lineman like the kid out of Tennessee is in the mix. But they're not taking a quarterback. Like I said, Dak's contract is literally right at the beginning. There's too much dead money on that to bring in a quarterback and then try to develop him. It's Dak, do or die with them. But this is who Jerry is. This is why I don't believe that Jerry is ever really committed to winning, because he delays these contracts. He overpays guys. They have a roster that's really top heavy. He's got a lame duck head coach who everyone said should have been fired after they got blown out at home by Green Bay in the playoffs last year. The same head coach who can't beat the 49ers every time they played them in the playoffs. The 49ers pretty much take their damn lunch money every time they played them for the last 5 years. And yet, regular season, playoffs, preseason, we see you in the schoolyard. We show up on your block. We do whatever we want. Y'all not going to do nothing about it. So to me, Jerry likes all this. He likes the fact that we're talking about them without them actually being a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, because we do talk about them a lot, and they haven't won in 40 years. What was last Dallas Super Bowl?
30 years. 30 years.
And we still managed to have some Cowboys talk.
Right.
Jerry, you got to do better, man, because this don't even make no sense what's going on with your team right now. You have one of the best wide receivers in football in CeeDee Lamb. Dak he's more than serviceable quarterback. Dak is upper half of the quarterbacks. He's in that top 15. They should be a lot better than what they are. I know that the running game has been abysmal, but this team should be a lot better than they are. You have, Micah Parsons. I don't know what happened to Micah Parsons. He need to stop podcasting and start focusing on the field, because going into this season, Micah Parsons was probably maybe even top 2 best defensive player in football. Right now, I don't even know if he's top 25. The way he's been like non-existent damn near this season. Like I don't know what's going on with him.
Well, this is what happens in the NFL. This is why remember when we did that defensive ranking with Aaron Donald, and then there was people in the comment section trying to say, "Oh, Michael Parsons is like the next Lawrence Taylor." No, this is why people jump out the window too soon, because the league will adjust and the league will find ways to scheme for you. And if you're not a great enough player, this is what happens. They will scheme for you, and then you become a non-factor. So Michael Parsons, for all the early talk, oh, he the next Lawrence Taylor. He don't look like the next Lawrence Taylor right now. He's not affecting games the way Lawrence Taylor did. And some of it, yes, people will say, well, the defense ain't as good this year. Right, but he's still not wrecking havoc. He's still not doing what he was supposed to do. So there's a lot of issues with Dallas. And I think Dallas is far more they're content to just be a headline as opposed to a contender. Like you said, Michael Parsons goes on his podcast every week and has a lot to say about every other team and what's going on in the world of sports. And yet we're looking at the Dallas Cowboys and like, yo, y'all trash right now.
Yeah.
Like, until I hear you criticize your own team and what's going on in your locker room, I'm not interested in none of your opinions on other sports related stuff.
I'm really not. And because I guess people will maybe want to equate it to Draymond doing his podcast. At the end of the day, Draymond is a 4-time NBA champion, defensive player of the year, multiple time All-Star. You know what I mean? His resume affords him the grace to be able to do that, even though these last couple of years haven't been his greatest. But he's had a Hall of Fame worthy career, so he can do that. Michael Parsons, you have not accomplished anything. That's the reality of it in the NFL. You guys have not won a playoff game since you've been in the league. Damn sure ain't win no Super Bowl games. I don't even think they won a division since he's been in the league. I don't think he won a division.
They won a division. Yeah, they won a division. Yeah, they won a division, but that's it. I mean, I think they got one playoff win with Micah there. You can't even compare it.
That you should be out here doing your podcast and your team is getting their boot smoked every week.
But you can't even compare it to Draymond, because when Draymond dabbled into media, like you said, Draymond was already his resume was solidified as a champion, as an All NBA defensive player, all those things. So whether you like his opinion or not, you can't take away the accolades. You can't take away what's already been done. For Mike, is none of those things. Mike is early on in his career, and he's having these debates and these discussions, and it's like, bro, y'all played yesterday, and then you jumping on Twitch later that night. Like, now you probably should study a little bit more film. You probably should be a little bit more locked in than worry about going live or streaming. You probably should be trying to figure out how can we make this better right now, because it's looking bad. It's looking real bad. And he's going to get a new contract. Jerry going to pay him.
But it's actually him having this little downslide actually kind of benefits the Cowboys, because they're gonna try to shortchange you a little bit.
Jerry don't know how to negotiate. Don't let Jerry fool y'all. Because Jerry, everybody gets paid with Jerry Jones. Don't let him fool y'all. He will hold on to guys far past their prime. He will continue to pay guys far past their prime. The only time they've let guys go really is when they've had the replacement, or what they felt was the replacement already in the fold. You know what I'm saying? When they had DeMarco Murray, the only reason they let him go because they felt that Marion Barber was a replacement there. They didn't let him go because they really wanted to, because they tried to offer him a contract. But they thought, and the same thing, remember with Zeke. They paid Zeke, and then when they thought they had a replacement in Tony Pollard, that's the only reason they let Zeke go. And guess what? A year later, Zeke was right back with the Cowboys, even though he'd been over the hill for about 4 years. Exactly. Jerry don't know how to negotiate. Jerry just pays the guys that are there. Yeah, Jerry does not know how to negotiate. He just pays the guys that are there, and he'll keep it rolling with the same guys over and over. He's like a terrible general manager in Madden. He don't understand how the cap works. He's just signing everybody that was already on the team. He don't understand that you can get actual great value from draft picks. He doesn't understand those things.
Before we switch over and start talking basketball, is this the night that the Chiefs take their first loss?
I don't think so. Bucks don't have their receivers. That's what makes it tough. And we know this Chief defense is really good. So I think this is going to be a tough game for Baker Mayfield without Evans and Godwin. So I wouldn't bank on the Chiefs to take their loss tonight.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Chiefs stay undefeated. To be honest, just because Mahomes, the way Mahomes has had the Bills number, I don't even really think they could actually run the table, to be honest with you. They could actually go undefeated on the season, because there's nobody in front of them that I think could stop them. Maybe the Bills give them a chance because it's in Buffalo, but I don't bet against Patrick Mahomes, especially not against the Bills, because they haven't shown me any reason to believe that they could beat the Chiefs. Maybe if they had the Bengals coming up, maybe, but the rest of the season they got the Buccaneers, the Broncos, the Bills, the Panthers, the Raiders, the Chargers, the Browns, the Texans, Steelers, and then they finish off at the Broncos. The reality is they could run the table on all of those teams. The division games may be a little tricky because, division games can always be tricky, but realistically, Kansas City can run the table.
The games that are the toughest in terms of record and who your opponent is: Buffalo, the Charger game, the Texan game, the Steeler game. Those are the four that are probably the toughest. The Broncos game could be the sneaky loss there, because if the Chiefs have everything locked up, right, division, home field, and you ain't got much to play for, that might be one of them games where you only play Mahomes in them for like the first half.
Yeah.
Right? You won't run the risk of, I don't think it'll matter to them about being undefeated, to be honest. Now, if they get it, they get it. But I don't think it's not gonna be one of the things like we have to get undefeated, we have to do this. Their main thing is
this season.
Right. With the injuries they've had, they're gonna play it cautious that last 2 to 3 weeks of the season. So that might be where the spot is. And like I said, the second to last game is that Steeler game. That the way that division is shaping up, we know that's going to mean something for the Steelers. If the Broncos are still in the mix going into that last week, the Broncos might need that win to get into the playoffs, and the Chiefs don't have anything to play for. So going undefeated is very, very tough. But this is a moment, like I said, I don't think the Bucs have enough to beat the Chiefs right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if Mahomes hasn't had a really good game yet this season. I wouldn't be surprised if tonight is the night that he kind of reminds everybody, I am the best quarterback in football. Yes, I know our defense has been amazing, but I am Patrick Mahomes.
I'm him. Yep. Let me go to Will's comment before we get up and switch over to basketball. Y'all tripping. Saquon's play was the best run move ever. It's never been done in real life, a movie or video game. And y'all sleep on the hezzy spin what we did before because Hurdle stopped playing. There was another kid. Who was it this weekend that caught another? He had an Odell type touchdown. Oh, what game was it that I was that man, I can't remember who it was.
I mean, in terms of, like I said, it's a great athletic move. I think it's a recency bias comment to be like, it's the best move or the best play ever. Because if you throw in Barry Sanders highlights, I think Barry Sanders got at least 4 or 5 moves and runs that were greater than that move.
Yeah. Oh, well. Talking about Barry Sanders then.
I mean, because Will saying best run move ever.
First of all, I think when we talk about the best ever, we're literally only talking about the fact that he hurdled over the guy back.
That's what I'm saying.
That's stuff we've seen before. So
right, that's what I'm saying. Like it's become like, yes, it's a dope play, right? In the moment, it's a lot of wow and shock value to it. But again, we see guys hurdle all the time.
Yeah.
And the hurdles, unless you hurdle somebody and take off, which we rarely see, most times when they hurdle somebody, they normally get tackled within a yard or two after the hurdle. It's the same thing. He hurdles the guy backwards and immediately gets tackled.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's a cool move, but it's like it didn't do much. All right, cool. All right, he did a hurdle. All right, cool. I seen Barry juke fucking the whole defensive team and break off a 60-yard run off that. To me, that's a greater move and run than what Saquon did.
Yeah. So honestly, he was way more impressive in the Giants game than he was. That was just that, that one hurdle was, I'm saying it was a lot, but he was more impressive in the Giants game. But let's get over to this NBA talk. Where we at here? Let me go. Okay, here we go. We'll go back to Kyrie Thompson. Thunder just keep on winning. Cavs still undefeated too. Is Doc Rivers on the hot seat, or should he be? Shout out to the Thunder. We spoke about them, I believe it was the last week or the week before. How good and young that roster is, and the fact that they could possibly have a top pick in this year's draft, all because of that dumbass trade that they made to pacify a guy who's missed more games since he's been in Los Angeles than I've seen before in my life, and who still ain't even playing right now. And now you done gave them the keys to the city. You done gave them an MVP candidate in Shea, and then now they could possibly get another future MVP candidate in the draft this season if you guys don't get y'all act together and start winning more games. What can you not say about the Thunder? They're a great team from top to bottom. They have depth. They can rebound. They can score the basketball. They can shoot. They pretty much do everything that you want from a basketball team. I think the Cavs will come back to reality at some point, but congratulations to them for starting the season off undefeated. And then Doc Rivers should have been on the hot seat before he even got the job. He shouldn't even got that job in the first damn play. I don't know why you stopped a coach that had the team in second place, fired him to bring Doc Rivers in to do basically nothing. Y'all didn't even get to the conference finals last year.
They didn't get out the first round last year.
So there you go.
They lost in the first round. Shout out to the Thunder. Y'all know how I feel about Shea Gilgeous. I think the young boys. I got him. I've been saying it. I think he's better than Luka, but and that's not a knock on Luka, but I just think Shea is better than him. But the Thunder are dope. They legit. They the truth. They're gonna be a top 3 team. I keep saying it. Cavs off to a great start, and that's kudos to Kenny Atkinson, who's a great head coach and got a raw deal in Brooklyn. When Kevin Durant and them forced him out as head coach there after he did a great job with D'Angelo Russell and them young dudes over there as well. Kenny Atkinson's a top-notch coach and has shown with Cleveland how he got them started. I don't know. I guess we'll say Cleveland will kind of fall back to the pack, but Cleveland the last 2 years with Donovan Mitchell, they've always been in that top 4, top 5 range. So even though 7-0 is surprising, I don't think any of us are going to be surprised again if they're the 3 seed or the 4 seed. in the East because they're that talented. They got a good mix with Garland, with Mitchell, with Mobley, with Allen, and with Karis LeVert coming off their bench. They got a good mix of guys there. So the Cavs, kudos to them. Doc Rivers is on the hot seat, but he's not going to be judged by regular season. And I know they're 1-5 and it looks ugly. Everything with Doc Rivers and the Milwaukee Bucks is all structured around what can they do in the playoffs. And that's why they moved on from Adrian Griffin, because they felt like they needed a veteran head coach who could take this team to the next level. We know Giannis was injured in the first round, so Doc kind of gets that pass last year, but there's no pass this year. It is boom or bust with the Milwaukee Bucks. They got to get to at least an Eastern Conference Finals to even justify the moves they made, especially when you consider they let go of Drew Holiday to bring in Damian Lillard, and then we see Drew Holiday be a vital part of the Boston Celtics winning their NBA championship last year. So there's a lot of things on the table for Milwaukee Bucks and for Doc Rivers.
Holiday left and got him a ring and a gold medal. How you like me now? Oh my goodness! Shout out to Ryan. I see you in the comments. I'm gonna give the youngins a shout out towards a little bit towards the end of the show. So I will get to that. Let me see what we got next. Okay, here we go. Brandon Chambers, what's your thoughts on the Warriors start? And some wins have been without Curry. I usually don't start judging this team till they 15 games in. Great start. No Clay, no problem. They look good. I mean, and you know, they have a great coach. You have, you know, one of the best players in basketball still in Steph Curry. You have a defensive leader in Draymond Green who can also run your offense. And they got a couple of athletic dudes that can jump out of the gym. So I mean, I'm not really surprised, because anytime you got Steph Curry out there, anything is possible. I think it's a good start. Do they maintain this throughout the season? If they stay healthy, I guess it's possible. But I don't know if I feel confident in saying they can make a deep playoff run.
Shout out to Brandon Chambers, because I agree with the last part of that. I usually don't start judging teams till we 15 games in, which I agree. 15 to 20 games is kind of the mark. But the Warriors deserve a lot of credit, because the development of Kuminga and Moody, for that factor, the upgrade of Buddy Hield over Klay Thompson. And I'm not talking historic, because I've seen some people debate, is Buddy Hield better than Klay Thompson? He's not better than Klay Thompson historically. But for right now, in the moment, he is better than Klay, and he fits the team a little better. And then obviously, Andrew Wiggins kind of looks like himself again, Trip. After a couple years of dealing with some off-the-court stuff, he's back to being himself. And that's why I think the Warriors look like a more complete team. There's more help for Curry. You look at that team, yeah, they've won some games without Curry playing. But even if you look at the minutes distribution, Kerr isn't relying on just 2 or 3 guys. He's given his bench an opportunity to play. I think they got at least 7 guys playing 20 minutes a night for them. So he's going deep into that bench to make it work. And I think Steve Kerr deserves a lot of credit, because he gets a lot of blame. People try to criticize him and like, anybody could coach stars. Anybody could do this. Anybody could do that. And yet he consistently wins and shows you that he can manage the egos and manage the players that are on his team. So I think Kerr's doing a great job. I think the Warriors are a good team. I'm not ready to put them up there with the upper echelon teams. I think last week, Trip, we talked about the top 2 or 3 teams that we really like in the West. I wouldn't put them in that conversation, but I do think with a veteran guy like Steph Curry, with some of those young guys like Kuminga, like Moody, with Buddy Hield coming off their bench, it makes them a very good playoff team.
They have a very balanced roster. So yeah, I like what I see from Golden State. Great, great start to the season for them. Let me see what else we got up here. Let's see these comments coming in. Oh, that's Will and Ryan going back and forth for the comments. Hoop Baller Scoop. What's going on, man? College basketball started today. What teams do you usually go for? I saw USC and Juju had a great first game. Cooper Flag, I'm watching them play right now versus Maine on the ACC network. I mean, you just said my guy, right? You know where I'm at with it. Y'all know I'm a Blue Devil. So yeah, that's where it's at. I'm checking for them. That's pretty much it. I mean, as far as on the men's side of things, that's who I check for is Duke. And then on the women's side, I will be following Paige. I will be following Juju, because I want to see what they do this season. Because again, those are going to be those storylines that we're going to be hearing more and more about as this season progresses.
Yeah, I'm not going to be. I don't have one particular team I'll be watching, but obviously Cooper Flag I'll be paying attention to, and pay attention to Rutgers. Rutgers has 2 young men who are projected to be top 15 picks in next year's draft. And there's a lot of speculation because they're close to Kyan Anthony that Kyan's going to be selecting Rutgers as well. So that's the school I'm going to be paying attention to if they're able to bring in Kyan to that mix next year.
I'd be lit because they got Rocco out there already. So
Rocco out there. Rutgers is doing some things, but look at the big board. Like I said, they got 2 young men on that team that played AAU circuit with Kyan that's on Rutgers. I'm actually going to try to catch them when they play down in College Park against University of Maryland.
Okay, that should definitely be a goodie. But yeah, looking forward to it, man. Let's get right back. Let me go. I see. What did I see up here? Okay. Oh, this is Will. He's still going on about. That's it, Juan. Well, let it go. Well, you need to be focused on this L you about to take in fantasy football. Let Saquon go, man. Shay said today I played with Barry. This was different. I just posted Barry's top 50 runs in the group last week, fellas. We've never said the words reverse hurdle together before. Again, I mean the hurdle is the highlight of it. How many yards did he get on that play actually?
I think it was like I want to say it was like a 12-yard run.
Oh, you know what? No, man, I can't even give you that, man. On a 12-yard run, like we basically
he gets to the outside. He gets to the outside. He makes the move on the first guy, right? He spins off he spins off the broken tackle, and then that's when, as he spins off the broken tackle, he spins again, and that's when he goes up in the air for the hurdle.
Yeah, I don't know. Let me go to this one for Will. These upstart young teams like OKC and Cleveland are showing hunger, want to, and are a threat to star-laden teams that load manage pause and take the regular season off. Those 2 teams have the gas in July. Yeah, but I'd be more confident in OKC than I am in Cleveland. Just the way they lost in the playoffs this past, they didn't impress me. And I think for the most part, the team is pretty similar to the team they had last year. So I'm just a little skeptical about them. Obviously, I think they are a legitimate playoff team. Do I say they make it out the second round? No, I don't think they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. But with OKC, I can definitely see OKC in the Western Conference Finals this year.
Yeah, it's completely different for OKC. You look back at that series against Dallas last year, they had a legitimate chance to beat Dallas and move on to the Western Conference Finals. And then they add Caruso, they add Hartenstein, who hasn't even played yet. They're a more complete roster. I think the problem with Cleveland, like I said, the last 2 years, we've seen them as a top 4, top 5 team in the East. The problem is come playoff time, they can't play both those bigs together. Yeah. They can't play Mobley and Allen together. That's why the Knicks were able to beat them in the playoffs a couple years ago. That's why you saw they struggled last year in their matchup as well with Boston. You can't play those 2 bigs against the way we space and pace the NBA now, where everybody's able to pull you out to the perimeter and force you to guard at the 3-point line, and that's just not a strength of the Cleveland Cavaliers. So until they figure that part of their roster out, I think they're a good regular season team. I think they could even win a playoff round, but to win more than a playoff round, I don't see it. I think OKC though is legitimate, and they could make a run, especially they might be a veteran away off their bench to really being the best team in the West.
Yeah, and that's that. Like I think that Cleveland would have a better shot because again, you mentioned the two big men, right? If one of those 2 big men was averaging, let's say, 25 or 26 a game, and they had that kind of dominance, it may work out a little bit better. But because neither one of those guys is really an offensive powerhouse, it just creates jams up the paint area. It makes things difficult, and then when you get into the playoffs, it just doesn't work. So, and I like Evan Mobley. I like, obviously, y'all know I rock with Jared Allen. I got a picture with Jared Allen on my daggone social media from when he played for the Nets, and we got to link up with him at the practice facility. Shout out to Joe's. I connect. Well, now he's not connected with the Miami Heat now, but at the time he was I connect with the Nets. But yeah, I just don't see it. And again, they could prove me wrong. You know what I'm saying? Because again, guys get older, you get more mature. You know, a lot of these guys have been in the league a couple of years now, and they do know how to win basketball games. But as of right now, I just don't see it to where they make it out of the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. I think the East is tough, man, and Cleveland, we saw it. They don't match well up against the Knicks. They don't match well up against Boston. I don't know. You'd be hard pressed to find somebody who would even take them in a series over Milwaukee. I think Pacers might have more balance than them. So that's the problem with Cleveland.
Basically, so it is what it is. Let's get ready to jump into the final thoughts segment. Eric?
Man, as always, shout out to all the supporters. We greatly appreciate you guys, man. Shout out to my brother Will Gordon. We will be back again this Friday night live with the Opinionated Ones. Make sure you guys lock in 8:30 p.m. this Friday. And most importantly, man, y'all know what tomorrow is. Don't be lazy. Get out there, vote, man. Exercise your right to vote.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna use my final thought to shout out the Young Bulls over there in Long Island. Ryan says, just here to give Glen Cove a big shout out, making history going 7-1 with Devin Gonzalez. Devin Gonzalez is someone that I've filmed playing football. I want to say he's another one of the guys I've been filming since he was like 8 years old in Long Island, and now he is ranked. I want to say he might be the best running back in the state right now. I gotta check and see. I feel like he's either like 1 or 2 right now, but either way, you can't deny 1,200 rushing yards in 6 games. That's out of order right there. That's out of order. Shout out to Devin Gonzalez. As a matter of fact, the crazy thing is that we were talking about Saquon. I started calling him Saquon when once he got into high school, because he had to build like Saquon and he was running over cats. I'm gonna pull up some of Devin's highlights from the past couple of years. He had hit me up because he wanted me to come out this season and to film the games for them, but the scheduling is just crazy because they're in Long Island, and I was running around. But you can't deny 1,200 yards. That's just crazy. That don't even make no sense. 1,200 yards in 6 games. You gotta love that. He's definitely gonna be the next one of my kids that goes D1. That I'm gonna be hitting him up. Yo, Devin, I'm coming to the game. Hit me up. Send my tickets by will call. I'll be there, man. But he's a great kid. Big shout out to Devin Gonzalez. His whole family is really dope. I met his parents and whatnot over the years, being at the games and whatnot. So big shout out to Devin and his entire family. Keep up the great work that you're doing on that field, because you definitely are on pace to make it to the NFL. Just keep that hard work up, young man. And with that being said, make sure you guys are following us on all our social media. Instagram, Twitter at Real Fan Talk, Facebook.com/Real Fans Real Talk. And of course, subscribe to that YouTube channel, YouTube.com/For the Fans Productions. And if you're not in New York on Thursday nights in the city area, you can't watch us on Verizon 43 from 8 to 9 p.m. Do not worry. You can still watch us from anywhere in the world. All you got to do is click that website, realfansrealtalk.com, hit the red button on the homepage, and you can watch from anywhere in the world. And while you're doing that, make sure you are subscribed to the 2 best podcasts out here moving. That's the Real Fans Real Talk and the Sanchez Show podcast. We got content dropping every week for you guys. So stay locked in with us, because we ain't going nowhere.
It's a fact.
All right. Rest in peace, Quincy Jones. Gotta say that.
Yes.
Rest in peace to the legend Quincy Jones. That man put so much work in for the culture. You know what I'm saying? Nothing else need to be said. Rest in peace to Quincy Jones. With that being said, for myself, Trip Young, my brother, my co-host Eric Sanchez, aka Legend in 2 Games, we up out of here. Peace.
This is Deion Grant from the New York Giants, Super Bowl champ, and you're watching Real Fans, Real Talk.
Live from the can. Vibe the king.
This is Real Fans, Real Talk. Real fans, real talk. We as real as you thought. Real fans.